welcome to our special series, The Townhall, the program where we bring you the biggest newsmakers face to face with a live audience. Our guest today on The Townhall is someone very special. She's somebody that all Indians should be very proud of. She's also one of my personal favorites. A 6-time Grand Slam champion, she's currently, of course, ranked world #1 in the women's doubles. Right from the time she played, from 2003 till 2012, when she retired from the singles circuit, the Women's Tennis Association ranked her as India's top tennis player, both in singles and doubles. She's now out with a fascinating and candid new memoirs, Ace Against Odds, chronicling her extraordinary journey as a self-made superstar. It is my immense pleasure to welcome on the Town Hall today from St. Mary's College in Hyderabad, a place where Sania Mirza studied, Sania Mirza, our very own superstar. How does it feel first to be back in this building where your life could have taken a completely different direction? I mean, there has to be that what if moment of sitting here in St. Mary's College.
First of all, it's taken me longer than it used to when I used to come to college because there's a lot more traffic.
Oh, tell me about
There's a lot more. But on a very serious note, it's always great to come back to places where you started from. Even though when I started here, I had won Junior Wimbledon, so I kind of knew where my path was. Yeah. I knew that tennis was where I wanted to be and end. And but I think that school or college played a very important part in my life, and I've always said that how it's so important to have a basic education, which I tried to do. And it's great to come back. I have some very funny memories from here as well.
Like what? What is the naughtiest thing you did here?
I never used to sit in my class. I had these seniors, my best friends were my seniors, and I used to go and sit in their class. And the professor once said, but you're not from this class. I said, no, I'm from here only, and I was in the first year and they were in the third year. So many people have come to this college after, come and gone, and yeah, it's great to be back.
Now, you know, one of the really moving parts of this book is to actually see how your entire family, your parents, your sister, galvanized around you to make this dream come true for you. And you talk about living in the United States of America, where you first decide in Ohio that you want to play tennis and your mom can't afford it, and I can see you're already tearing up.
I'm not tearing up. I don't tear up every time I talk to you.
In a good way. In a good way.
No.
But that struggle, to watch your parents actually struggle financially.
Yeah, I think at 6 though you don't really understand, or at 4 or 5 you don't really understand that why you can't afford to play tennis. You know what I mean? Like I think you watch your cousins play, and I do remember not being able to play. I don't remember why. Completely saying, this is, of course, today I understand why. But at 4 you don't really understand, and you're very confused as to why when my cousins can play and why I cannot play. And like you said, destiny and fate, just earlier, if I wouldn't have come back from America, I would have never afforded to play tennis, so to say, and probably never become a tennis player. So it was the best move of our lives.
To come back.
To come back to India. And I have to say, I'm never leaving again. But it's great to be back, to revisit all those memories. That how it came into play. I mean, we couldn't have even thought of it. Actually, the first time I held a tennis racket was in the United States. It wasn't here. It was over there. But it was just once, and I was bullied off the court, which I have written about in the book. I was bullied off the court by my cousins, saying that you're a girl and you can't play tennis. Like, what's wrong with you? We are boys and we are going to play, and they were all 4 years older than me.
That discrimination starts early.
It started very early. Still fighting for it.
Absolutely.
And then, and then we came here, and the first thing I remember was my mom saying, you know what, we're going to go and play tennis, we're going to swim, and we're going to do all the things that I wasn't able to do. And I do remember that clearly. It all made sense, obviously, later.
But you also talk about your father actually converting this car, what you call dieselify the car, and all 4 of you, 2 sisters, parents, packed in this car, traveling hundreds of kilometers on the road. That is how you had to make ends meet.
One of the reasons why people think that I have not struggled as much as other people have struggled is because we don't talk about it as much. I think people, they love talking about rags to riches stories and keep going and harping on about that. I mean, I have mentioned in the book, we were never in a position where we didn't have food to eat. I mean, it was not like that at all. But that doesn't mean that our struggle was any less. I mean, my sister was 7-8 years younger than me, almost 8 years younger than me. So she needed my mom. I was all of 9, so she was like 1, and I needed my mum as much, and I was here trying to compete and play tennis and win. So we all, the cheapest form of, or the way to do that was to sit in a dieselified car and take off. And so whenever you lost a match or something, just sit in the car and come back home, because we didn't have to pay for the hotel room. You know, sitting in trains, going, I mean, it's also, there's so much in the book about our travel.
And you write about how it actually kept the family close, and it was,
of course,
life was never boring. Whatever else it was never boring.
It was actually a lot of fun, you know. I mean, of course it was a struggle, but at the end of the day, when I think back, it brought us so much closer as a family. We had no choice but to sit in a car together for 24 hours sometimes, you know.
Did you fight? Did you fight? All
I think we all fight.
Yeah,
no, but I think that it brought us very close, and I think no matter how much I've stayed away after that, I've traveled, and you know, our family's been separated. When my sister grew, she had to stay in for school, college, and it still kept that bond going, and which is why we don't need to talk to each other. You know, sometimes we don't talk to each other for a week in a row, but you know, when me and my sister can meet and we can talk about everything and anything, and I think that's because of the bonding that we had when we were younger.
Do you sometimes feel that with all this sort of media emphasis on you as this glamorous poster girl of tennis, there's actually an underestimation of how self-made you are? You know, there is, because as you said, you don't talk about it, but there have been many years of hardship.
Of course, I think that to reach a pinnacle, or to reach a professional, or to become professional rather, in something so competitive, or even if it's not competitive, is a struggle. Everyone goes through different kinds of struggle. Just because I don't talk about it doesn't mean that we didn't go through it. You know what I mean? But I'm still not going to say that we didn't have food to eat. Of course we did. I mean, we were and probably if I didn't play tennis, we would be fine, you know, we would be a normal middle class family. We would be a middle, but everything that my parents were making was going into my tennis, and it was going into raising another child, which was Anam at the time, and trying to give her the best possible education. And that's where our schools came into play. We went to Nasser, both of us, at the time, and it still is a struggle. Believe it or not, it's just a different struggle now. You know,
what's
at that
the struggle
time,
now?
The struggle is to try and maintain. It's much easier to get to the top than to stay at the top.
Of course. The only way from the top is down.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a different kind of struggle. Of course, we're not struggling for financial issues anymore, but we do struggle to try and stay, manage commitments, manage things, try and, you know, be as good as you can be, manage injuries. I mean, I've had 3 surgeries. I mean, there are so many other struggles that you have. The struggle always continues until I stop playing tennis.
Do you think that those early years of being this regular middle class home keeps you grounded today?
I think we're still a very middle class family. You know, I always say that, and we take pride in it. We're still a very middle class minded family, at least. You know, I don't think money or fame should change you. I mean, it does change some people, but I don't think it should.
Has it changed you at all?
In some ways, yeah. Maybe the way that I dress and the way that I, you know, carry myself, but not in the terms of my ethics and my morals. I think they remain, and those are the morals and ethics that were taught to me by my parents when, you know, when I was 7, 8 years old, and where we were all together in a dieselified car, which we didn't know was going to stop any second, going from Mumbai to Trivandrum. At that time.
Those remain the roots, right? Now, before I open it up for the audience, you know, you write very interestingly about your forehand going on to becoming your biggest power asset. But that's not how it was always viewed. And when did you start feeling that, hang on, this is not a liability, this is an asset?
I mean, I'll have to get a little technical here.
Sure.
So sorry for boring people who don't understand tennis a little bit. But the thing is that when I was coming up at that time, Western grips, which is a completely... which everyone has a Western grip on a forehand today. At that time, not many people, a lot of people used to play with shake hand grips, or, you know, a more like I think it just changed with times. And I came in that time when I was 6, 7. I had a very extreme Western grip, and that also goes back to a slightly medical condition that I have, which is I'm very loose jointed and I'm double jointed, and now I have arthritis. For the last 6, 7 years. Actually, I have a form of arthritis which is called sensitivitis or something of that sort. I don't even know the name, honestly, because it doesn't matter to me, because I'm going to keep playing tennis.
Did it terrify you? For a tennis player to have arthritis can be a
I mean, I wake up with pains every day in different parts, and there are some days which are great. I don't wake up with any pain. But like this morning I woke up and my right knee was hurting and very sore to touch and it's swollen. But then, you know, I ice it. But that's something that I've learned to live with. But then I also have my forehand because I'm double jointed and so loose jointed. And that's the way I can get an angle out of my forehand. But where I was going with this was at that time I had this very extreme Western grip, which a lot of coaches were trying to change. You know, they tried to like turn it. And after a certain point, I stopped responding to coaches, and finally everyone gave up and they said, okay, fine, whatever.
And I think Martina Hingis talks about this in the foreword to this book, that so much of your battle is actually here, right? Even the arthritis, the injuries, the 100 controversies that have come your way, some of it is mind over matter.
As an athlete, a lot of it is mind over matter, because I think that if every morning I wake up and put myself in and say, you know what, I have arthritis, why do I need to do this? I'm number one in the world, I've made enough money, I don't need to work, I can have kids, I have a husband, I can, you know, have a very normal life where I can wake up at 11 in the morning, why do I need to wake up at 7 in the morning?
Yeah.
But it's not about that. It's about trying to win. It's about trying to compete. And that's the feeling that I miss. I miss the feeling of victory. I miss the feeling of wanting to go out there and hearing, you know, people cheer for you, people being proud of you, my parents being proud of me. The joy that I see when I come back home, every time I come back to the airport, the amount of people that come out to receive you. Yeah. It's about all those things, and you just don't want to give it up. You miss that feeling. You even sometimes, believe it or not, miss the feeling of losing, because it's just about competing. I've played in some great matches where I've lost, but today those are some of my best matches that I've played.
That whole adrenaline and the rush
everything.
And the drive
so it's
and
not
the competition.
It's not about the money or the fame anymore. It never was. It's about the game itself, and that's why I'm still here.
All right, let's start taking questions now. I'm going to just call out some names. Soumya. Soumya, where are you?
Yeah. So you're followed by 22.27 million people on Twitter worldwide. So have you faced any gender discrimination? Like you've already mentioned that you have been discriminated by your cousins. Like other than that, have you faced any gender discrimination?
That's harsh on my cousins. They were like 9 years old. I don't think we should hold them responsible for being 9 and boys.
So, but more seriously, I think every moment, in some ways, being a woman makes it that much tougher.
Yes. And I think that you can vouch for that more than anybody.
Oh, yes, I can.
Between the two of us, I think we've spoken for all of the women of this country over and over.
I think we have.
Over and over again. But I think life is a little tougher when you're a woman.
You're scrutinized more. You're looked at differently.
For example, there are male athletes who probably aren't the best looking guys, will be super duper stars.
Yeah.
But there are very few women that will be not they have to be presentable looking, so to say, to become a superstar. Forget sport, I'm saying anything. You have to, as a woman, I think
you have to look a certain way.
The first thing that is noticed about you is
your looks.
Does she look okay? Is she marketable?
Hillary Clinton once told me that when they write about Obama, they say, Barack Obama said this on Syria. But when they write about me, they say Hillary Clinton bracket wearing a terrible blue pantsuit today. So, it's true.
But it is true. But whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's Barkha Dutt, or whether it's Sania Mirza, we are all, it is a little tougher for us. And this goes on from the lowest of levels and with the utmost respect, I'm saying lowest of levels. I'm not even talking about fame over here. I'm talking about trying to go and get a job. I think it's tougher being a woman. And that's the equality that I'm trying to fight for. And I think women have a bigger part to play in that, because women have to believe that they're equal first.
Yeah. Do you believe that some of those bizarre controversies that you write about in the book, and we'll come to them later, do you think part of the reason that you were scrutinized that way was because you were a woman? Because I know I once wrote about you, and a little bit of that article is in this book, and I said that people were actually insecure because here was this wonderful, amazing, individualistic, passionate, energetic woman who did not pull her punches, and my God, that makes people insecure. I mean, do you guys agree? Yeah.
Honestly, I wish I knew the reason.
Yeah.
Because I would have probably tried to fix it. To a large extent, you were right. Because I think that we don't usually like opinionated women.
Exactly.
We don't like women who come out and say, this is what I feel about it, and I'm not going to take it.
Sure.
They want women to be a second grade citizen, so to say, in the world, you know. And I think some countries are more pronounced than the others. I'm not going to say that it happens, and I've said this time and again, it doesn't happen just this part of the world.
It happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. It's just that some places is more acceptable than the others, so some people put a better, you know, there's a better shield saying, hey, we are all equal, but they're not. And it's a man's world. We live in a man's world.
I agree, and we have to keep fighting. Let's take the next question. Somyani Ghoshal.
Ma'am, your commitment to the country has been commendable. But being a sportswoman of our nation, do you think women have been objectified in your field? Because during a selection controversy between yourself, Mahendra Bhupathi and Leander Paes, you said that you've been used as a bait. Ma'am, we would like to know, why did you use such a strong word to describe yourself, and what has been your reaction to the entire event?
And you write about this in the book, right? And you say that you would have much rather played with Mahesh Bhupathi, but you were paired up against Leander to manage him. And how you felt really resentful that in some ways, you know, you were not being treated as a sportsperson in your own right. You were being used as a tool to manage the egos of two men.
When I was the highest of everybody that was playing.
Yes.
No, I think that what happened when I used that word, in that moment, yes, I did feel like that. I'm not saying that I was always used as a bait. What had happened was that, and I'll tell you even today, I think that we missed our best chance of a medal, which was me and Mahesh at the time. But it was the way that it happened. I mean, I made it very clear even then. We'll get into it a little bit. Even then, I had made it very clear that I'm okay to play with anybody. You know, it didn't have to be someone of my choice, which people were making it like they were trying to act like I was putting a personal preference over it. It wasn't. If me and Mahesh hadn't won a Grand Slam 1.5 weeks before, I would not have been so strongly for it. But they were trying to please Mahesh to a certain extent and Leander to a certain extent, and in the process forgotten that, you know, that there was another person that was involved, because maybe perhaps they're not used to a woman playing tennis and being there, because that never happened before. And possibly, I don't know, maybe they forgot, and they thought,
I mean, that's bizarre, right? I mean, you're being sarcastic.
And the way that the things were framed, you know, and the way people were coming out, I mean, Leander's father was coming out and talking, and Mahesh's father was coming out and talking, and I'm thinking, why are these grown men not speaking for themselves, A, and B, at that point, like, why is it like only about that? That's not what our best chance for a medal was. So at that moment, yes, I felt extremely insulted, and it was very hurtful, and it was hurtful on different levels. Me and Mahesh had a fallout after that. Me and Mahesh he's one of my closest friends, because he's actually written, and we have gotten back, and that's why, you know, you are close friends, because you come back. You know, some people that were involved never bothered to clarify anything. I was never asked anything.
Do you mean Leander?
Everyone that was involved.
Leander or Leander's father?
No, or even the federation at the time as well. I do believe that we had an unbelievable chance for a medal, and it was, you know, it went to the dog. Anyway, all said and done, I said what I had to, and I think that it did come across, and it did reach out to everyone, because all of a sudden everyone took a back step, and I didn't see anyone else's interview on TV after that. Nobody was on TV, so we came back without a medal.
But I think, therein hangs the tale.
Yeah.
All right, let's take the next question. Sasha Thomas.
You're one of the biggest sports star India has ever produced, and you've represented each one of us in the international circuit. However, we don't see anyone in the reckoning to play doubles or singles in women's tennis. So what is your view on that?
Which, it's actually very sad. It's a great question, and I'm asked this all the time. I mean,
Where
believe it or not, where is it? And I've been trying to answer this question for the last 15 years. And you know, we always have kids, they come, and there's always every few years I see, okay, this girl, she's going to be the next one, and I'm like all excited, and I'm like, sure, you know, I'm always there if you need help. And then few years later, you don't hear about them anymore. I mean, for various reasons. One of the reasons is because tennis is the toughest sport in the world. And I think we don't realize that, but there's 180 countries that play the sport. I think besides golf and tennis, there's no other sport in this world that is played individually by 180 countries. It is probably, after football, even though it's a team sport, is probably the most physical sport in the world. And I hate to tell you, but as Indians, we do not have certain genetics that can just produce with just talent. You know, we have to work over when we are 3, 4, 5 years old, and we don't have that system. We don't have a system in place. So there's not really one problem. There's many issues for that. For example, I know hundreds of girls who were playing with me, probably more talented than me, but they stopped playing tennis because they got a university and they just went to college and they chose that over, you know, they went to America, they have a decent life, and that's fine, that's your choice. But what I'm saying is that tennis is much harder than, you know, a lot of other things.
Too few families are like yours, right? Too few families are like yours with their daughters.
Probably, but I have to tell you that over the last 15 years, I've seen a lot of girls come out. I've seen a lot of, I have a tennis academy myself, and I see a lot of kids, especially girls, say, and you know, the parents come and say, we've named her Sania, and we want her to become a tennis player, and which is great because it never used to happen. You know, when I was playing, when I was 7, 8 years old, we had to go and catch people and say, let's fill the draw, you know, like we don't have people to fill the draw, and today you have like entries, you have hundreds of entries coming in, which is already a progress, but we will never have someone at this level unless we, on a constant basis, we had a Vijay Amritraj who was parents made and self-made. We had a Ramesh Krishnan who was parents made, self-made. Whether it's Mahesh, Bhupathi, Leander, Paes, or whether it's me, it's always going to be an individual effort, which is why we have 20 years gap between every champion that comes out in this country. But we need to have a system, and we don't have that system. We don't have the right kind of training. We don't have the right kind of fitness. We don't have the, and people cannot begin to fathom the kind of fitness these guys are doing. You know, it's getting so physical, and you know, I'm 5'7.5", and I'm supposed to be quite tall in this country and in this part of the world. I'm one of the shortest people out there. I mean, that, you know, I mean, 6 feet, girls are 5'11", 6 feet tall, and that's like very normal. You know, they're 6'4" with like heels on, and and people act like that's the most normal thing, but it's not. And I mean, how are we going to compete with that? We need something extra, and we don't even have a system. So there's
and a sporting culture. Okay, next question, Rajiv Kumar. Where's Rajiv?
You have been targeted many a times by conservatives also. I remember the news where, you know, there was a fatwa which was issued that she wears probably, you know, small skirts and then sleeveless tops also. Apart from that also, this the guy recently in news, Zakir Naik, he has also targeted you once actually for the...
Zakir Naik.
He targeted me.
He did. And it's good that it's good if you don't know. You miss nothing.
So there's a reason why I don't watch the news.
For the clothing sense actually. Okay.
What's the question?
So question to you is actually how did these conservatives or, you know, the news about anti-national or something, how did this affect your performance actually?
So I want to just add here, you've written extensively about this so-called fatwa and what it made you feel, and you are actually a believing, practicing Muslim. And you do not want to have that sense of violating your religion, but you write so honestly that there is no one who's perfectly follows their faith. Like everybody messes up. People claim, but everybody messes. How much pressure has that kind of scrutiny from the religious orthodoxy?
I think first of all, it's very important to know, sir, that if you read the book, you'll know that there was no fatwa.
Yeah, you say it turned out to be that he said this is my view, but I mean no harm to her.
I did read this
book. Okay, let her
anyway,
answer,
there was no fatwa. So I think that people, first of all, I think fatwa, the word, I've also explained that word in the book, where people...
You've said it's a misunderstood
word, concept, because people start to think that fatwa is a threat. It's not at all a threat. It is just what a certain Islamic, for us obviously, thinks that what's right and what is okay in Islam, and that's just his opinion. It's not really a threat that if, you know, I'll put a fatwa on you and then you're going to be killed. It's not like that at all. But
you suddenly found security at Dam airport when you land in, you know, I mean, you come out of the airport and there's a posse
I was
of
19, 20 years old and very new to all this, still adjusting to newfound superstardom at that time. And all of a sudden I had like so much security. I was not allowed to leave my room to go for breakfast in the morning. And I was like, why? Like, and they were like, no, this man has said there's a fatwa and he's going to kill you because you're going to wear, you know, these skirts and all this. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, you know, it was so confusing. You can imagine for an 18, 19-year-old to sit there and be like, you're going to be killed because you're playing tennis. And I'm like, why is that going to happen? Like, it was very disturbing. I don't like to get into too much of religion talk, to be very honest with you, because I think religion is something which is very personal, but this was very important for me to clear out, which is why I spoke about it in the book. But the thing is that if you go and ask anyone, not a Muslim, I mean, I think if you go and ask a priest and say, is it okay to roam around in a bikini? I don't think he's going to be like, oh yeah, sure, you know what, yeah, of course not. I mean, he's going to say, no, you know, you should be decently covered. And that's exactly what was asked. And he also added, this person added that no, it's not allowed for her to wear, in Islam, to wear a skirt. But we are so proud of her, of what she's done as a Muslim and where she's come, and as a community, we are so proud of her, which was edited out of, and it was, you know, so I think as media, we are, I'm sorry to say, but we are to a large extent very good at selling stuff that is sellable. And it doesn't make news to say, you know what, this guy is actually praising Sania. It makes more news to say that he wants to threaten Sania and says that it's not right. And unfortunately, negativity sells.
No, you make a fair point about the media, but it also is true, and this comes across very clearly in the book, that there's something tedious about having to explain and justify yourself.
Which is why I just
mentioned. A photo shoot at the Charminar, I mean, we're here in Hyderabad, that becomes a controversy. The skirt becomes a controversy. You're putting your feet up after a game, the flag is nearby, somebody distorts that photograph, that becomes a controversy. And one of the really moving moments in this book is you describe how there's this moment when you have to go for a photo shoot and you just can't help crying because you're just so fed up and tired of this constant overweening scrutiny.
Yeah, and believe it or not, that photo shoot, I'll tell you guys who haven't read the book, was for the Time magazine, and I was on the cover of Time magazine. And just before that shoot, I was crying in my room for 45 minutes, and someone was knocking on my door. It was my mom or dad or everyone was, and the photographer was downstairs, and I said, I just don't want to go. I don't want to have this. I cannot deal with it. I just cannot, and I didn't want to do the photo shoot. I didn't want to be there, and I picked myself up somehow, went there, and at the end of the month I was on the magazine of, you know, I was on the Time magazine cover, and that's how the Time magazine cover came about, and it's talked about even till today. And today when you're 29, you understand the importance of a Time magazine cover. At 18, it's very difficult to understand what it means to be on a Time magazine cover. But it is very tiring. It is very tiring, like you said, which is why I started this answer saying that I don't like to talk about religion too much, because I think that shouldn't be what defines a person. Like I said, it is my personal view. I practice Islam. I'm practicing Muslim. Nobody is perfect. I do it. I do good. I do bad. You do good. You do bad. Everyone in this room does good, does bad. But that doesn't make them a good or bad person, and that doesn't give anyone the right to say whether they should live or die, or whether they should play tennis or not play tennis, or whether they should live in a country or not live in a country, or whether they are Indian or not Indian.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've had to face those questions time and again, and right now this interview might get me in trouble as well, but I'm used to that. I would be surprised if it didn't.
If it hasn't broken your spirit till now, it's not going to break her spirit ever, right? All right, let's take the next question. Amandeep, where's Amandeep? Yes.
My question to you is, you have faced several of bars over your nationality after your marriage, and you also broke down in one of your interviews with Barka, and you said it isn't fair to assert your Indianness.
Before we come to the unpleasant parts, you do write about how you met Shoaib, and it's quite a lovely story where you think you bump into him at an Indian restaurant, but he's actually come there just to meet you. You'll find that out later. Sly. And then there are these other moments, you know, the kind of pressure, the kind of media gossip, the sleaze. He's hiding in your house at some point because there are cameras from the window from somewhere else trying to peek into your home. You sneak out at some point, you have to hide him in the car to get him out. I mean, how crazy is this?
It's a movie.
It's a movie. It's a movie. It is a movie. It's a Veer Zara moment, right?
I'll tell you a small part of this story. It was a very funny part, and now it's funny. It wasn't so funny at the time. But so we are all, the media has found out now, because we've kept it under wraps. I don't know how, which was the toughest thing for us to do, because whether it was England or Australia or Dubai or India, everybody knew either one of us. So anyway, the media has found out. I've just come from Dubai. He's still in Dubai. And we get a call and they're like, you know, we've found out. And he was supposed to come to Hyderabad the next day or 2 days later. And we're like, okay, now how do you come? So he is on an Emirates flight and, you know, takes a flight, comes to, and as a Pakistan national, you have to either land in Delhi or Mumbai. You cannot land, same thing for us when we go there. We land in Islamabad or Lahore or Karachi. So anyway, he lands in Mumbai. How do we bring him from Mumbai International Airport to the national airport to bring him to Hyderabad now? So we've somehow arranged, you know, thankfully God's given us some power, so we've arranged one private jet for him to take, and he's gone from inside and done all this.
Oh my God.
So we are doing all this to hide the fact that this man is not coming to India. And he lands in Hyderabad and my dad is sitting downstairs saying, listen, people will recognize me if I go up. So he sent my uncle.
Okay.
My uncle has gone up and this has actually happened. So we are all hiding like this and thinking like, how do we get him to the house and this and that. And he comes out of the airport and at the back, he's carrying a bag and it says Pakistan cricket team, Shoaib Malik. And my uncle wanted to jump on the bag or something. And we are like, oh my goodness, like he's wearing a hat and, you know, sunglasses at 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's like coming like this and we're like, he's like, what do you want me to do with my bags? Like, you want me to leave there? It was so funny and we're all sitting at 4 in the morning and laughing in the house, but we know it's trouble, but we are laughing. So these kind of things happened and there were so many instances like this. I mean, people calling and saying, is Sania wearing a, you know, I don't know, an orange shirt or yellow shirt or something? And my dad's like, yeah, how do you know? He goes, because I'm watching her live eating breakfast right now.
Because there's a camera peeping into your...
There was a camera peeping in from God knows where. We're putting like towels and pardas all over these ventilators and like, I mean, you cannot imagine. It was a movie. It was a full-fledged
But you know,
movie.
being married to a Pakistani, like, you know, on Twitter, when people think you're anti-national, which now is everybody who has an opinion, they say go to Pakistan. But you're married to a Pakistani, so when they want to question your nationalism, they can't quite say go to Pakistan, right? Because you are sometimes in Pakistan.
Yeah, I think, no, I think to be, you know, in a very serious note, I think what happened 6 years ago, because today I feel that I almost never see those tweets anymore, believe it or not. I almost never see them.
It's kind of settled down?
Yeah, over the last 4-5 years. It was just the first 6 months to a year. But I think that what happened 6 years ago, people thought, कि अच्छा इसने तो शादी कर ली, she's ये बोरिया बिस्तर लेके, she's going to Pakistan, she's going to get a green passport and that's it.
Yeah.
कि मतलब they felt cheated कि, you know, we have, this is our daughter, and it was actually love. A weird kind of love that I was getting, but I was getting certain kind of love where they were like feeling so protective about me and possessive. Yeah. And they were like, she's leaving and we feel so cheated.
Yeah.
But I think when they saw that we are in an extraordinary situation, which is not possible for a lot of people to understand. You know, there are very, very few couples, first of all, that represent their own countries at the highest level in sport.
Yeah.
There are very few couples that represent two countries that are loggerheads for God knows how many years.
Yeah.
There are very few couples who are so high profile. And there are very few couples who actually have a live Veer Zara moment, you know, which we did.
Yeah.
And go through with it and who are happy, and, you know, everyone thought, okay, you know what, like she's going to go and cook rotis and sit there and that's it, and, you know. But I think when they started to understand that that's not going to happen, like we, believe it or not, me and Shoaib never had a conversation till today, ever, if I would or he would change nationality.
Never?
Never.
It never came up?
It never came up. The first time it came up was through the media. And we're like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even think about it. We did not think that was an option. And that's the kind of upbringing that we came from. And we're very proud of it, because I really hope and pray that if the world was like that, it would be a much more peaceful place to live in.
But have you both ever buckled under that pressure of the does the India-Pakistan tension spill over into Sania?
No, everybody comes up to us before every India-Pakistan match and they think it's the best question in the world, best, and say, oh, who are you going to support? And like, may try and make it this all like as if we're having pillow fights in the, you know, house, saying, I'm supporting India. I was like, guys, it's really not that dramatic. Like, I mean, seriously, we have bigger issues in our marriage than who's going to support India and Pakistan. So, It's, but I think people are okay. I mean, I think that the defining moment for me, for people to honestly accept that I am married to someone who's from Pakistan, but that doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
Even though that brief thing did happen in between, but you know, now when I look back, it was one or two silly people talking, you know,
when
through
they
their
question
yeah,
your Indianness.
yeah, when that thing
I'm
happened.
going to actually play out that
I'm
clip.
sure you will.
No, but, and I'm doing it for a reason, because it made me actually, so one way of looking at it is, oh, I got a great interview, right? But actually it made me ashamed that you felt like that. As an Indian, I felt ashamed that we had made you feel like that. I just want everybody to see what happened here. One of the many times that Sania has to keep saying, but I'm patriotic, I'm patriotic, I'm patriotic. Can we play this out, please? Is there ever a point that you feel that I've had enough? I'm not going to reiterate my Indianness. I'm not going to reiterate my nationalism. If people want to question it, so be it. You know, one of the things I felt was that it was shameful that you actually had to issue a statement about your Indianness at all. It was shameful that any politician, whether of the BJP or later Hanumanta Rao of the Congress, anybody put you in that position at all.
I think I was really sad yesterday, to be very honest with you. More than anything, it's just something that it saddens me. I don't think it happens, I don't know if it happens in any other country where you need to keep proving that you're from that country. Why do I need to prove that? Is that because I'm married to someone else from another country? Is it because I'm a woman? I really don't know. But what my question is that why am I picked on? Why is it that everyone celebrates when I win and I'm the most patriotic Indian and they're the most patriotic Indian? And why now? You know, so.
How much pressure has your marriage to, has your decision to marry somebody from Pakistan put on your life? Do you feel that's why you're picked on?
I find it amazing actually because, you know, as sports people and my family, we have never ever in our lives looked at another person from what religion, caste or country they come from. So even when I got married, I was asked these questions and, you know, I found it amazing that it didn't even cross my mind which country he was from when we met. So, and it still doesn't. So I don't understand why it has to cross anyone else's mind.
You sound really upset. Obviously, it's touched a raw nerve, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just really upsetting.
I can imagine, and I'm really sorry, Sania. I think so many Indians are that you're feeling the way you are right now. I can feel you choking up. I know you're really upset, and I can only say sorry on behalf of all the Indians who are very proud of you.
Thank you.
Goosebumps even today. That moment.
Just on what I said there, even though I was very emotional, I still believe that I just find it amazing how people judge people on what nationality, what color, what race,
religion,
what country, what religion they come from. I find it appalling. And that's why I said what I said earlier. I said that if honestly everyone thought like me and Shoaib or our families did, even though at the beginning, you know, my parents, obviously when we said, you know, like we're kind of dating, and the first reaction was they were also a little surprised. But it was not because he was from Pakistan. That was not the problem. The problem was, yes, he was from Pakistan, but it was more me. Like, how will I be? It was not that, oh my God, you chose someone from Pakistan. It was not that at all. And I just find it amazing how people don't think like that. I mean, the kind of comments we see on Twitter, I mean, they're retarded to say the least. For me, I find it really amazing.
Do you think you're past this thing where your patriotism is going to be questioned, your Indianness is going to be questioned?
I don't know if I've passed it, but I don't think that any of us have passed it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that time and again you're questioned.
Yeah.
You know, they keep telling you, go to Pakistan. Sure. You have nothing to do with Pakistan. Go to Pakistan.
I don't even have a Pakistani husband, for God's sake.
Pakistani husband. We're a country of 1.2 billion people. Everybody can't make sense. I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, I know that since we are here, we've got some people from your past life here. Your coach from 2001 to 2008, Mr. Narendranath. There. Let's have a big round of applause for him. If there's something you'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me it was a very special journey to be part of her. And I tell a lot of time to a lot of parents whose children are playing that I never seen her unhappy on a tennis court. You know, she's always there, very cheerful, very happy to hit the tennis ball. And she would travel all over the world. She'll come at 2 at night, and then the early morning at 7, my phone will ring and say, let's hit some balls. And you know, that kind of passion she had. And I really appreciate, and I hope the next generation has this kind of passion to grow up.
Any particular memory you have of Sania that you'd like to share?
The first time
Keep it PG-13.
No. Make it realistic.
In fact, the first time I got to travel with her in the US, and I know she was already a star in India, but it never really struck me as to how her global following was. And we were just, me, herself, and her dad were just walking in New York, and all of a sudden a photographer popped up from nowhere and started taking pictures. And that's when it really hit me, this girl is on her way up somewhere else.
You've spoken so much about your family. Your sister Anam is right here. Let's get her the mic. I'm just wondering, as a younger sister, please don't tell me like you're always adoring. Like there must be something that you absolutely
No, in
hate
fact, we
about
had a
Sania.
fight just before we came here.
You had a fight before
Yes,
you came here?
just before we
Thank
came
God
here.
you're normal.
We had a fight this morning, I think.
Yeah, because she said my room was really bad and she's not going to sleep in my room. So we are very normal like that.
So anything you want to share about your sister that you think people don't understand, right? Because what happens with people who are very public is the world has an opinion of them. The world thinks they know them. Everybody has an opinion, but they may not really understand the real person.
Yeah, well, that happens a lot, and that was one of the reasons that I am pursuing to be a journalist, in a few years from now. One thing that I make sure is I know there are going to be a lot of people at the airport when she's won a match or won a tournament or, won a Grand Slam and come. So one thing that I make sure is the time when she loses and I know nobody else is going to be at the airport, I make sure that I go during that time. So.
She has just praised herself, let me tell you. You have asked about me and she has spoken about herself.
That's okay. Younger sisters are allowed to do that.
We are normal.
We are normal. Absolutely. All right, let's go on to the next question. Gayatri Devi. Gayatri.
2010 Asian Games, Mahesh, Bhupathi, Leander, Paes and Bopanna backed out. It is
I know what you're trying to ask me, but
what comes first? Is it our play or is it our profession or the Indian nationality, our country?
First of all, I don't want this to sound like a Mahesh, Bhupathi, Leander, Paes, Rohan Bopanna bashing because this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But this is not what this is about. I can just speak for myself. I cannot speak for anybody else. I had taken that decision, which was, I think, about a week before the Asian Games, and I thought to myself, I was actually going for the championships, and there was a few points involved and whatever. Yeah. And it was important for me to play that tournament, which was in Wuhan, which was happening in the same week of Asian Games, which was in Guangzhou. Yeah. And what happened at the time was I took a decision and I said, you know what, let me play Wuhan. Mahesh, Leander and Rohan were all not playing, and so anyway, I slept. I literally slept. I made the announcement and I went to sleep. That's literally what happened. Yeah. I slept, I woke up in the morning, and honestly I don't know what happened. I woke up and I said to my parents, I don't really feel good. I don't feel good. I want to play the Asian Games, and my parents always, obviously I'm an adult and I'm allowed to make my own decisions. So yeah, and my own choices. And they said, well, whatever you think is right, and they're both very important. So whatever you think is, right. And I said, it's not about more important or less important. It's about what I think is right and why I feel I should go. And I went. And I don't think it was 2010 Asian Games, ma'am. It was 2012. Yeah. It was 2012 or 2014 Asian Games.
Recent,
it was now,
recent,
it was 2 years ago. It was 2010, so different issues happened. We'll come to that later.
All right, let's move on. Rakesh?
My question is a situation. If there's a cricket match between India and Pakistan in a championship final.
Sir.
No, I hope it's not that predictable question.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Fine.
I was just going to give you a hand for this question.
Okay, what's the question?
Yeah. If there's a cricket match between India and Pakistan in a championship final, and Pakistan are chasing the match, though Shoaib Malik hits a century, but he couldn't score the 2 runs of the last ball to win the match. How would you react at that point of time?
Have you given him this question?
No.
It's a situation
I would not even think of this question. I would not even be able to think
He
of
has
this
thought
question.
of this question himself.
Yes. It's the same old question, right?
So basically who I would support. You've come back to that only, no?
It's a situation, like, how would you react, even though...
Would you feel
like,
bad that he missed a
So
century?
I have to
or would
put myself in a hypothetical tense situation and answer your question right now, basically.
Yeah. Don't you get sick of these questions?
What do I look like?
You look sick of these questions.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to Dr. Ravi Kumar. Yes.
You had a private personal tennis court in your Panjagutta house,
Correct.
which your father had prepared for you. And I was there 20 years back.
In my house?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My question is, how much difference did that gesture from your father make in your tennis career, and how much difference does it generally make for parents to guide and encourage in your sports person's life?
It comes back to the whole rags to riches, you know. We were middle class, you know, like I said. And but my father's whole family migrated to America. So we were living in a family property. Honestly, I was plain lucky. We were plain lucky because it was not so much of a gesture. It was more of an investment that my father made at the time. At that time, I remember it costed us around 50 to 60,000 rupees to make that tennis court, which was 20 years ago, which at that time was a lot of money for anyone to take out of the pocket. And I was just lucky because we had this property and we had this extra land and nobody else was there, none of my cousins, nobody, and we were living in this house, in a joint family actually at the time, with my dad's cousin. And we were like, okay, we might as well, you know, make this, because we spent so much money going up and down in the auto and this and that, you know, because we didn't have a car at the time. We somehow got money together and put that tennis court together. And it was huge. It was amazing because it was probably one of the best tennis courts in the city at the time. Tennis is viewed as such an individual sport. You know, it's viewed as someone that just goes on the tennis court and performs and that's it, and it's so individual, it's not team. But believe it or not, sir, tennis is more of a team sport than any other team sport you can put together. Because in tennis, you cannot do anything without coaches, without trainers, without parents and without family. You cannot.
But it's also atypical for parents to allow children to play sport over academics, right? That is a parent's dilemma as well.
But I was actually playing sports simultaneously. I was, you know, it was not something
But at some point you have to prioritize, right?
I mean, when I came to college, of course, because honestly, there was a moment when I had to write my exams in June or go to Wimbledon. And at that point, I did choose Wimbledon. And I'm glad I did.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry to say this college, but I did.
Yeah, of course. With apologies to St. Mary's, right?
With apologies.
All right, we're almost at the end. I have time for just a couple of last questions. Question from Suha. Suha?
My question to you is, where do you see yourself post tennis? Like, will you be entering into Bollywood or politics or something completely different?
The what next will confront you at some point, right?
Yeah, I have thought of it. I mean, I do have my tennis academy, which I do want to give some time to when I'm done playing, you know, more time than I can right now, obviously. Probably some commentary here and there. I actually don't really know. Honestly, I am a person who lives in the present most of the time and, you know, try not to look too ahead in the future.
But are there any other unfulfilled dreams that are not tennis related?
Well, I would like to have a family, of course, at some point, and, you know, have kids and, you know, I'm quite traditional like that as well. As rebellious as I come out to be, I'm not that rebellious. No, I would, but I know that I probably will not be sitting at home. That's just something I cannot do. I've been working since the age of 6 years old, so it's very difficult for me at, you know, 33, 34. But I don't know. I'll do something. I'll find something to do. But you guys will see me around.
I'm sure we will, and I'm sure we'll hear you, and you'll get into trouble, as you should. I love
You think?
women who get into trouble because it means we're giving them a tough time. Thank you so much, Sania
Thank you.
Mirza. It is a pleasure
Thank you.
having you on the town.